A buddy of mine, his name is Gary, walked into a dealership in the spring of 2022 with his 2001 Ford F-250 7.3 Power Stroke. Thing had 280,000 miles on the clock. Ran like a sewing machine. Never left him stranded, not once in 12 years of ownership. He'd replaced the glow plugs twice, done his oil changes, swapped the IPR valve once. That was it. That was the whole list of repairs in 12 years. The dealer offered him $6,000 on trade. He took it. He walked out with a shiny 2023 Super Duty with the 6.7 Power Stroke, a brand new infotainment screen, lane keep assist, all the gadgets. Payments were $1,100 a month. He was proud. He thought he'd upgraded. Within the first 8 months, the EGR cooler failed. That was $1,400 out of pocket after the warranty dance. Then the DEF system threw a code that left him in limp mode on the interstate. Tow bill plus dealer diagnosis, $680. Then the turbo actuator started acting up, another $900. His fuel economy dropped. His payments stayed, and every time he drove past his neighbor's driveway and saw an old 7.3 sitting there, same year as the one he sold, something in his gut twisted. He called me last December. I've known Gary for 15 years. He asked me if I could find him another 7.3, a decent one. I told him what those trucks are going for in 2026. He went quiet on the phone. Then he said, I should have never let that truck go. I hear that story more than you'd think. Different trucks, different guys, same regret. They sell something that was built to last forever. They chase something shiny. And the industry, the dealers, the manufacturers, the finance companies, they're counting on that. They want you to trade. They want you in payments. They want you dependent on their diagnostic computers and their software updates and their authorized service centers. I've been watching this cycle for a long time. My name is Wade Tucker. I've been a diesel mechanic for 22 years. I've worked in independent shops. I've worked on farms. I've worked on job sites. I've got grease in places that soap can't find anymore. And the one thing I've learned, the thing I'd stake my reputation on, is that there are certain trucks that were built so right, so fundamentally well, that selling them is one of the dumbest financial decisions a person can make. This channel is about trucks, real trucks, not YouTube content about trucks, actual boots-on-the-ground knowledge from someone who's been under them his whole adult life. If that's what you're here for, hit that subscribe button right now. And after you watch this video, drop a comment telling me what truck you'd never sell. I read every single one. Today we're talking about the 5 trucks that mechanics, guys like me, will tell you point blank, never dump. And if you already sold one, I'm sorry, but maybe this helps someone else. The first truck, Ford F-250 7.3 Power Stroke Diesel, 1999 to 2003. Let's start where Gary started. The 7.3 Power Stroke is not the most powerful diesel engine ever made. It's not the flashiest. But if you ask any serious diesel mechanic which engine they'd trust with their life on a 100,000-mile road trip, 9 times out of 10 they say the 7.3. Here's why. The 7.3 was engineered before the EPA got serious about diesel emissions. That means no DPF, no EGR cooler, no DEF tank, no SCR catalyst, no regeneration cycles. It is a mechanical diesel engine with just enough electronics to manage fuel delivery efficiently. When something breaks on a 7.3, you can diagnose it with your hands and a basic scan tool. You can fix it in a driveway. The engine itself, the block, the heads, the bottom end, is massively overbuilt. Ford and Navistar designed this thing for commercial applications. Work trucks, ambulances, school buses. They didn't design it to last 100,000 miles. They designed it to last 1 million, and it does. I've personally seen 7.3s with over 500,000 miles that had never been apart, still making boost, still sealing, still running clean. The weak points are known. The ICP sensor, the UVCH, the FICM on the early units, the glow plug system. Every single one of those issues has been documented, diagnosed, and addressed by a community of owners and mechanics who've been wrenching on these trucks for 25 years. The knowledge base for the 7.3 Power Stroke is enormous. If something goes wrong, someone has already fixed it and posted about it. Parts are cheap. Labor is simple. When Gary sold his, he got $6,000. In 2026, a clean 7.3 F-250 with a 6-speed manual and a clean frame will fetch $12,000 to $16,000 depending on miles and condition. That market is not cooled. If anything, it's gotten hotter because people who know trucks understand what they lost. What does the guy who sold his 7.3 face afterward? He faces emissions compliance. He faces software lock diagnostics. He faces service intervals that require a $300 dealer visit just to reset a parameter. He faces repair bills that assume you can't do the work yourself, because on a modern diesel, half the time you genuinely can't without expensive tooling. He faces the real cost of the upgrade, which is never just the payment. It's the payment plus the insurance plus the repairs plus the loss of independence. Never sell a 7.3. If you have one, keep it, maintain it, drive it forever. The second truck, Dodge Ram Cummins 12-valve, 1989 to 1998. The 12-valve Cummins is not an engine, it's a religion. I'm not being dramatic. There is a community of people who have built their entire truck culture around the 6BT, the 12-valve Cummins engine. And they've done it because this engine simply does not die. Let me give you some numbers. The 6BT has a B50 life rating of over 300,000 miles. That's the industry benchmark, the mileage at which 50% of engines are expected to still be running without major internal work. Most modern truck engines have a B50 life in the 150,000 to 200,000 range. The 12-valve is more than double that. There are 12-valve Cummins engines that have crossed 500,000 miles on the original block, the original crank, the original rods. Still pulling, still sealing, still making 230 horsepower and 440 foot-pounds, stock. The reason is simple. It's a mechanical injection pump. The P7100 injection pump on the 12-valve is a completely mechanical fuel system. No electronics, no solenoids that can fail, no computer-controlled fuel delivery that can be corrupted by a software glitch. The pump is governed by mechanical spring tension and physical geometry. It doesn't care about temperatures. It doesn't need software. It doesn't throw codes. It just runs. When the 12-valve needs work, any competent diesel shop can handle it. The injection pump can be rebuilt, not replaced. Rebuild kits are inexpensive. The heads can be machined. The head bolts, and there were head bolt issues early on, I won't lie to you, have long since been addressed with upgraded studs. ARP studs on a 12-valve head done once, and you're not touching it again for another 300,000 miles. The guys who sold their first-gen Cummins trucks are hunting for them now. Hard. The market for clean 1994 to 1998 12-valve Dodge Rams has gone through the roof. People are paying $25,000 and more for clean examples. Not because they're classic cars, because they're practical tools that nobody can replace. The modern Ram 2500 with the 6.7 Cummins is a good truck. I'm not going to trash it, but it has 15 more sensors than its grandfather. It has a particulate filter that needs to be regenerated. It has a DEF system that will freeze in certain temperatures and strand you if the fluid runs out. It has 400 pounds more curb weight from the emissions hardware alone. And when something goes wrong, you're looking at a dealer with a specialized scan tool. The 12-valve asks nothing of you except clean fuel and regular oil changes. In exchange, it will outlast everything you've got planned for it. The third truck, Toyota Hilux Pre-2000. Most of my viewers are in America. Most of you have never owned a Hilux. Some of you don't even know what one is. So let me explain why this truck belongs on this list, even if you can't walk into a dealership and buy one new. The Pre-2000 Toyota Hilux, especially the 1980s and 1990s generations, is the most proven light-duty work truck in the history of the automobile. That's not an opinion. That's documented across 6 continents by farmers, militaries, aid workers, and people who needed a vehicle that would simply not fail. The BBC's Top Gear tried to kill one on television. They submerged it in the ocean. They left it on top of a building they demolished. They set it on fire. After every abuse, the Toyota mechanic who came to assess the damage did a few minutes of work, and the truck ran again. That wasn't scripted, that was reality. The reason the Hilux is unkillable comes down to engineering philosophy. Toyota in the 1980s and 1990s was obsessed with reliability. Every component was tested beyond its design limits before it made it into production. Every fitting was over-engineered. Every weld was done twice. The trucks came out heavy, they came out simple, and they came out ready for environments that would destroy a lesser vehicle in a season. The 22R engine, the carbureted four-cylinder that powered most of these trucks, is bulletproof. It's a cast iron block with a long stroke design that produces torque at low RPM. It runs cool. It's easy to rebuild. Parts are globally available because these trucks are everywhere. In sub-Saharan Africa, the 22R is as common as corn. Local mechanics know every inch of it. The Hilux pre-2000 requires attention. It's not going to hide its maintenance needs from you. When it needs oil, it will smoke a little. When it needs brake work, the pedal will tell you. It communicates. And when you respond, when you actually maintain it, it will repay you with decades of service. People who sold their old Hilux for a modern Toyota Tacoma often tell a version of the same story. The Tacoma is quieter, smoother, better on the highway, but the frame cracks, the transmission acts up, the infotainment system freezes, the truck costs twice as much and breaks more often, and when it's time to do off-road work in serious terrain, the old Hilux would have handled it without complaint, while the Tacoma is throwing service lights. You can't buy a new Hilux in the United States, but if you're lucky enough to have one, keep it. The fourth truck, Chevy Silverado 2500 HD LB7 Duramax, 2001 to 2004. Let me be honest about the LB7. It had a problem, a real one. The injectors were trash from the factory. Specifically, the injector body would crack under thermal stress, and you'd end up with coolant in the fuel or fuel contamination in the cooling system. It was a mess. GM settled a class action lawsuit over it. The early production trucks were a nightmare for dealers. But here's what people miss. The LB7 injector problem is solved. It has been solved for 20 years. You go in with Bosch remanufactured injectors, the good ones, not the knockoffs. You do all 8 at once since you're in there anyway, and you never touch them again. The job costs money. I won't pretend it doesn't. But once it's done, what you have is one of the best diesel engines GM ever put in a truck. The LB7 Duramax was designed jointly by GM and Isuzu. It's a 6.6-liter common rail diesel with a variable geometry turbocharger and solid internals. No emissions equipment, no DPF, no EGR cooler. That came later and caused enormous headaches in the LLY and LBZ generations. The LB7 is clean and simple by comparison, and the Allison 1000 transmission behind it is one of the most reliable automatic transmissions ever built. That transmission can handle 1,000 foot-pounds of torque in modified applications. Stock with the LB7, it barely breaks a sweat. When GM got to the LML generation in 2011 and stuffed the Duramax with emissions hardware, the truck got heavier, more complicated, and more expensive to maintain. The EGR system on the LML is a known weak point. The DPF needs to be replaced eventually, and replacement costs can top $3,000 for quality parts. The newer trucks are faster, quieter, and more powerful, but the ownership experience is completely different. The LB7 2500 HD in good condition, injectors sorted, cooling system maintained, Allison serviced regularly, is a workhorse that will tow 12,000 pounds all day without complaint. The frame is beefy. The axles are rated for serious loads. The interior is simple and built for a work environment, not a living room. Guys who sold their LB7 for a newer Duramax have called me up frustrated because they're dealing with emissions recalls, software updates they didn't ask for, and a DTF system that apparently doesn't like cold mornings in Minnesota. One guy told me he misses the LB7 every single time his new truck won't start until the DDF heater finishes its cycle. Fix the injectors, maintain the cooling system, keep the LB7, you won't regret it. The fifth truck, International Harvester Scout. Let me tell you about the Scout, because this one is different from the others on this list. We're not talking about a work truck with high mileage and a proven diesel engine. We're talking about a machine that created a category. The International Harvester Scout, built from 1961 to 1980, was the original American off-road vehicle. Ford's Bronco gets more credit in popular culture. The Jeep CJ gets more love from the off-road community. But the Scout came first, and the Scout built the blueprint. International Harvester looked at the American market and said, people need something that's not a car, not a truck, and not a tractor. They need something in between, and so they built it. The early Scouts were stripped down, basic. Two-wheel drive models were available because off-road wasn't even the main pitch in 1961. But as the line evolved through the Scout 800 and into the Scout II, International Harvester delivered a vehicle that was genuinely capable. Solid front axle, body-on-frame construction, simple mechanicals, big engines for the size. The 345 V8 in the later Scouts was a torquey, reliable unit that matched well with the vehicle's weight. What makes the Scout irreplaceable now is exactly what made it easy to dismiss in 1980. No computer, no ABS, no traction control, no variable displacement anything. The Scout is pure mechanical interaction between driver and road. When it needs steering input, you give it. When it needs to be manhandled through a river crossing, you manhandle it. Nothing in the truck will override your decision. Nothing will nanny you into a ditch. The Scout community is obsessed with preservation. Parts are available from specialty suppliers. The community knowledge is deep. Restoration and maintenance guides are everywhere. And because the Scout predates modern emissions regulations by decades, you don't need to worry about DEF, DPF, or any acronym that ends in a government mandate. In 2026, clean original Scouts, especially Scout II models in running condition, are selling for serious money. $20,000, $30,000 for exceptional examples. The International Harvester brand is coming back under Navistar with a new Scout EV, which has generated a lot of buzz. But that buzz has also reminded people of what the original was. And the people who have original Scouts are not selling them. The people who sold them years ago are watching the prices and wishing they hadn't. The Scout isn't a daily driver for most people. But if you have one, it's irreplaceable. There will never be another one. International Harvester doesn't make trucks anymore. This is it. Why people sell these trucks and why they regret it. I want to be real about this because it's not stupidity that makes people sell. It's pressure, and that pressure is engineered. The dealer trade-in is the first lever. You bring your old truck in for a service visit, maybe an oil change, maybe a check on something minor. The service advisor walks you out to the lot, shows you the new inventory, talks up the features, runs your trade-in value while you're waiting. Comes back with a number that sounds reasonable in the moment. You don't have the time or the reference points to know that your 7.3 is worth twice what they're offering on the open market. You take the deal. You drive away in something new and expensive, and they resell your old truck for 3 times what they gave you. The second lever is technology anxiety. Manufacturers have done a brilliant job convincing people that newer is always better, that older trucks are dangerous, that modern safety features are essential, that if your truck doesn't have adaptive cruise control and automatic emergency braking, you're driving something antiquated and risky. This is mostly nonsense. The trucks on this list were built with simple, proven safety designs. They stop, they steer, they don't roll over in normal conditions. What they don't do is generate revenue for the dealer's parts department. The third lever is the new truck smell. Don't laugh, it's real. The tactile experience of a new vehicle is powerful. The quiet cabin, the smooth ride, the big screen with navigation, the seats with heating and cooling. It feels like progress. And for the first year, maybe it is. Then the warranty period starts to wind down. The electronic modules start acting up. The emissions hardware throws codes. The extended warranty you bought turns out to have exclusions you didn't read. And now you're in the shop. Not your buddy's shop, not your own driveway, but the dealer's shop, paying $180 an hour for diagnostics on a truck that's 2 years old. The real cost of upgrading is never what they tell you at the dealership. The real cost is the payment, yes, but it's also the insurance increase, the registration fees on a new vehicle, the higher repair costs when things go wrong, and the loss of mechanical autonomy. When you own a modern truck, you own a machine that only a dealer's computer can fully understand. When you own a 7.3 or a 12-valve or an LB7 with the injectors sorted, you own something you can fix yourself. That's not just money, that's power. What to do instead? If you have one of these trucks, here is my honest advice. Invest in it. Figure out what it needs, not the cosmetic stuff, the mechanical stuff. Have someone who knows what they're doing put it on a lift and go over every system. Brakes, suspension, cooling, fuel, electrical. Make a list. Prioritize by safety and function. Then work through that list over time. You'll spend money. You might spend a few $1,000s bringing an old truck up to where it should be. But compare that to what you'd spend on 12 months of payments on a new truck. The math is not close. A well-maintained old truck with known systems will cost you less per year than anything you can buy new, full stop. In 2026, these trucks are worth real money. A clean 7.3 F-250, the kind Gary sold for $6,000, is selling for $12,000 to $16,000. A clean 12-valve Cummins is selling for $18,000 to $25,000 for nice examples. A running Scout in decent condition is selling for $20,000 to $30,000 depending on options and restoration quality. These are not overpriced. These are the market telling you something. The market understands that these trucks can't be replaced. The factories that built them no longer exist. The engineering culture that produced them is gone. What's left is what's left, and there isn't more coming. The other thing to understand is the maintenance multiplier. A truck that you maintain regularly doesn't just cost less to run, it retains value better. A 7.3 with fresh injector cups, a new IPR valve, a clean coolant system, and documented maintenance history is worth significantly more than the same truck with unknown service history. Maintenance is investment. Every oil change, every fluid flush, every seal you replace before it fails is money you're putting into an asset that holds value. Old iron beats new plastic. I've said it for 20 years. It's more true now than ever. The new trucks have more horsepower than the old ones, more torque, better fuel economy on paper. But the old ones have something the new ones will never have: simplicity. And simplicity means repairability. And repairability means independence. And independence is the whole point of owning a truck in the first place. A truck that you can't fix yourself, or that your local independent shop can't work on without a $40,000 diagnostic computer, is not really your truck. It's the manufacturer's truck. You're just making the payments. I want to hear from you. Which truck on this list is sitting in your driveway right now? Which one did you sell and wish you hadn't? Which one are you hunting for in 2026? Drop it in the comments. Tell me the year, the mileage, and what it cost you to keep it or what it cost you to replace it. I read every comment. I've been doing this long enough that I genuinely enjoy hearing from people who know trucks. If you're new to this channel, subscribe. I put out content for people who actually use their trucks, not for people who want to admire them on camera. Maintenance, diagnostics, buying decisions, mechanical reality. That's what we do here. If this video helped you, share it with someone who's thinking about trading in an old diesel. It might save them from making Gary's mistake. It might save them from 3 years of payments and regret and phone calls to an old mechanic asking if he can find them back what they lost. Some trucks are worth more than the number a dealer puts on them. Some trucks are worth more than the payments on whatever's replaced them. Some trucks were built at a specific moment in history when the engineers cared more about function than features, more about durability than data collection. Those trucks don't come back. When they're gone, they're gone. Don't let yours go.